1.15 for the ILS, 272 degrees. Let's go and plug that in. Two degrees. Let's wait for the engines to come up. We won't be needing the tablet this evening. Can go and plug some numbers into the computer just to shut it up. Position's already been initialized. We are at EGLC, London City. Okay, so that doesn't work on this aircraft. EGLC and EGLC. We're going from EGLC to EGLC. If you look in the legs page, there should be nothing in there. That's absolutely fine. Your dampers are on. It's all looking good. It's a lovely clear afternoon over London. Engine number 4 is coming up. Let's just check the volume levels. Okay, so you can hear me over the aircraft now. So yeah, it's all looking remarkably good. So 272 is the runway direction, 111.150 is the ILS. The wind is coming from 310 degrees, 11 knots. So it shouldn't affect us too much. We're going to go and set the heading bug to 90 degrees. Other than that, we're going to set this up to sync the throttles. We're not going to worry about too much else. So engines are operating. How much fuel do we have? Quite a lot. Okay, enough for us to mess around for a good while. Okay, let's just come off the parking brake then and spin this around in its own length. Hi Dennis, just reading the live stream chat. We're going to do some practice approaches into London City. So London City is of note because it has a the nose gear has seized up. That made it release. Yeah, London City is of note because it's a short runway and it's a steep approach path. The ILS is much steeper than normal. So we have to roll down to the end of the runway and then spin around. Oh, I wouldn't try and learn from me. I have done a couple of videos with the startup routine. It's not too difficult actually. Okay. Here we go. We'll just stop here for a moment and check things. So we're taking off runway 27. So obviously our heading bug and everything is aligned with that. We can actually go and switch on heading mode on the autopilot. We're not going to be flying a route today, we're just going to be doing circuits essentially at London City.
Speed alive, both sides. 80 knots was checked. V1. Rotate. V2.
Flight slow.
Positive rate of climb. Gear.
Just looking at the live chat, yes, the BAE 146 has been updated. I just realised I didn't correct the barometric pressure when I got in. I just corrected that, so let's go and put it into altitude hold mode at 4000. There we go. Yeah, I haven't tried the cabin door out yet. Should we go and try that? Oh, very nice. Okay, so we're flying the opposite direction than the airport. So there's the airport over there. You can have a look on the map. You can see, bizarrely, we are not doing 90 degrees. What's going on? Did I not set it correctly? No, I didn't. Off to a great start. Okay, let's go and set our altitude for 3000 and set that, and then start our descent down to 3000, coming down at 1000 feet a minute, vertical speed, and come off the throttles. We have to stay slower than 250 really. Just going to turn my headphones down a bit, I'm deafening myself. There we go. I can hear what I'm doing now. So we are coming up for 8 miles out, coming down to 3000 feet. We are below the glide slope, but remember it's a steep glide slope. So we're going to come off the autopilot. Okay, so we're just getting lined up on the localizer and then we'll worry about the glide slope. So we're actually watching this instrument here. So slightly off to the left. You see the runways down here. We're going to level out at just under 3,000 feet. Come off the throttles. So we are going to descend rapidly, and we do go. So I'm extending the flaps as we slow down. And increasing the throttle to hold at least 160 or 140 even. Okay, so here comes the glide slope. Now you'll see how steep this glide slope is.
Glide slope's alive, 1 dot to go.
So you can see the marker there.
$2,500.
Yes, I'm on multiplayer, just looking at the live chat. So I'm on the Southeast Asia server. I'm going slightly above the glide slope, so I'm going to come off the throttle, dive for the glide slope. There we go. So this is London City, it's live weather, it's a clear afternoon in the UK.
$1,000.
We are doing touch and goes, we're not actually doing a full stop landing. So I guess before we come back in again we could go and have a look at the city, couldn't we?
Pull up. $50, $40, $30, $20, $10.
Round idle. Speed alive, both sides. 80 knots cross checked. V1.
Light slow.
V2.
Right, should we go and do some sightseeing?
Descend, descend, descend.
That's TCAS, don't worry.
Clear of conflict. Descend. 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 Climb. Climb. Climb.
I imagine there's somebody very close to us on the multiplayer server. Yeah, there they are, look. There's another one. Okay, there's another one. It's probably one of the approach paths into Heathrow. Okay, let's go for altitude hold. Heading mode. And autopilot on.
Flight sims alive, 1 dot to go.
So we're going to go back out and come back in again.
Descend. Clear of conflict.
Okay. I might turn the turn this off in this aircraft. Put it back on standby for TCAS so it doesn't keep warning us about other aircraft. Okay, so you can see the distance to the ILS is stretching out now. The airfield's over there. So we're going to turn back round to the left in a moment and do another approach. Should do this from a bit shorter range. So come off the autopilot. Pan the view down a bit so we can see the ILS. Going a bit fast. Air brakes out. So 8 miles out, just turning in at 3,000 feet, we're flying level, just turning in towards the ILS. The 146 isn't twitchy. it's very plastic, I think. Okay, we've just overshot the LS beam. It's okay, we can correct on the way in.
$2,500.
Okay. Get in.
Speed checked below 205. Select flaps 18.
Flaps 18. And descending. Below the glide slope. The wind is pushing us. Got a slight right hand crosswind.
1,000.
But it's not too bad.
$500. $50, $40, $30, $20, $10.
Ground idle. Speed alive both sides. 80 knots cross checked. V1. Rotate. V2.
Gear up. The scenery is just a stock London scenery. The BAe 146 is payware.
Speed checked below 205. Select flaps 18.
So Scenery Envy, which simulator have you got, or do you use? Just looking at any module there. So this is just stock scenery in Flight Simulator. This is London. This is just what the world looks like in Flight Sim. Should we switch to the European server and see how busy it is? So if we go up to the servers and we'll put it on West Europe, this is probably going to go crazy, and resume. So we're on West Europe now. This could get really busy. I guess to help see them, if we turn it into sunset, so we'll advance time a little bit. Then we'll see people's nav lights. Well, that's the idea anyway.
Autopilot disconnected.
Bank angle, bank angle.
Lose some speed as we turn. So we're off to the right. Yeah, brakes out, go with some speed.
$2,500.
Light sensor live. 1 dot to go. $1,000. Sync rate 500.
slight slope.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Ground idle. Speed alive, both sides. 80 knots, cross-checked. E1. Rotate. V2. Positive rate of climb.
I wonder why the ground spoiler came on. That made no sense because I didn't touch the ground. I didn't touch the spoiler lever. Right, to make it a bit more interesting next time, we're going to meddle with the weather. So let's turn the live weather off, and we'll go for a few clouds. And we'll click on this part of the cloud. We'll say this is dense cloud, and it extends down to the floor. Probably need some lights on to do this. So let's turn left. Let's see how bright this is. So we can see some buildings. We're a bit alarmingly close to them, so I'm just going to climb away from them. Okay, why have I got no power?
Light source alive. 1.9.
Okay, so what we're going to do is fly in on the instruments, just to make it a bit more fun. So going back out to 3,000 feet. So we'll go for altitude hold mode again. And heading mode. It's just straightening up for us. Okay. So we really can't see anything, which is good. So we're going to do a full-on instrument approach. So London City is somewhere out there. So this is going to be fun. So we're going to watch the distance here and wait for it to go out a bit. Then we'll turn back round. So we'll go out to about 8 miles out maybe. Going a bit fast. So we're just going through the glide slope. Okay, so 7 miles out we'll begin the turn, so autopilot off. Get rid of some speed on the way around the corner.
Bank angle, bank angle. Bank angle, bank angle.
Okay. Gear down. Just crossing through the beam. Because we came into the turn obviously a lot faster than when we climbed out. Let's just move our view up slightly. Okay, flaps to first position. 7 miles out. So we're just crossing our track.
2,500.
Let's level up so we go through the glide slope. Flaps to the next position. So climbing slightly into the glide slope, hopefully. Okay, let's get on that centre line. Here comes the centre line. Here comes the glide slope. Go for full flaps. And drop the nose. And look very carefully in front of us and see if the ground's coming yet. So we're down at 2,000 feet. We're above the glide slope, so I'm just dropping the throttle, dropping the nose, coming back onto the glide slope. We're very fast actually, and we're off to the right. We're too high.
1,000.
Sink rate. Pull up. Pull up.
And there's the runway. And there's something right in front of us.
50.
Sorry.
30. 20. 10.
Ground idle. Speed alive, both sides. 80 knots cross-checked. V1.
The ground spoiler went out again, that's bizarre.
V2.
Should put that back on real world weather. Okay, that was good fun.
V2 plus 10. Safe right speed. Select flat 18.
Flaps up.
$2,500.
Okay, good. You're right. I think that's really good though. That when the windows catch the light correctly, they've got dirt on them and smears and scratches. Okay, so the plane is flying back out to 90 degrees. We're probably making a right mess on little nav map if we zoom out and have a look. Yeah. So we're just edging onto it too fast again, so let's slow down. So we're on live weather and live time again. And we'll come back in and do another approach into London City. Okay, so we got distance measuring equipment here. We're 4 miles out. The nav1 radio is tuned in for a course that is the same as the runway, or the ILS direction I should say. Don't always take it as read that the ILS will be in the same heading as the runway. They very rarely are. Okay, so we're just over 2,500 feet. So coming out to 6 miles. Okay, autopilot off, and we'll begin the turn. We'll come off the speed. We'll get the air brakes out. Hopefully tighten the turn up a bit. Flaps to first position already. Brakes off, gear down. Let's pull back gently to level up the turn so we don't descend any further. And this time we've turned extremely tightly. Okay, so we're going to play games with
2,500.
cutting across the line of the runway this time.
Speed checked below 205. Select flaps 18.
Done. Okay, following the glide slope. Obviously we're coming in at an angle. It's fine. It's good practice. Full flaps. Comes the localizer.
$1,000. $500. 40, 30, 20, 10.
Round idle.
I was a bit slow. Did you see the stall shakers went off just as we approached the runway?
V1. Rotate. V2. Positive rate of climb. Gear up.
Gear up. So it's only through practicing these things that you learn how the aircraft behaves, you know, in the different realms of flight. But that one was a bit too slow, so it's interesting to see, you know, what the repercussions of each thing are, and that's why we're in a simulator, because it allows us to do all those sorts of things. See what London looks like if we accelerate the time forward, put it into night. There we go, sunset. How about sunset? Let's go and switch off our landing lights if I can find the switches for them. Of course they're hidden in the dark here, aren't they? Of course they are. I was thinking, why can't I see the levers? Okay, so if we engage autopilot, the plane will automatically spin itself around. So we can just cut the throttles back. Yeah, the photogrammetry in London isn't the best. I think the best city I've seen is Frankfurt. It's absolutely brilliant, the photogrammetry in Frankfurt, and the 3D assets they built as well really are a class apart from everything else that I've seen. Put this back on normal time, it looks nicer. keeping on the speed. No, going a little bit fast. Let's cut it back a bit more. So yes, if you've not seen it in the simulator, this is the BAe 146. It's a specialist aircraft for doing city hopping basically. It's got very good climb and descent rates and short field performance. It's still operated various places around the world. I guess it's famous for operating out of London City. I guess what we could do is one more touch and go here, and then we'll fly over and land at Stansted. So we do a little bit of navigation along the way. So let's go and get that ready before we do it. So you can see we're coming in north of here, and we're going to go up to Stansted in a moment, which is just north of us up here. The wind supports coming in runway 22 at Stansted. 110.50, but we'll fly up north first. So we'll come out of here and then fly a northerly heading. So one more touch and go here, and then we'll go to Stansted. Got plenty of fuel. Okay, so we're 5 miles out. Autopilot off. We're actually above the glide slope, so I'm going to put the brakes on and get the nose down. Sorry, we're above the glide slope, yeah. Did I say glide slope?
$2,500. $1,000.
Right slope's alive, 1 dot to go.
$500.
Speed checks below 170, select flaps 30.
Already done.
Speed check below 145, select flap 33.
$50, $40, $30, $20, $10.
Ground idle.
Okay, what happened there?
See.
I have to go for a full stop. I've just
80
lost
knots.
the engine.
Yellow and green spoilers.
It didn't
60 knots.
throttle up. How strange. I went for full throttle up and nothing happened. Okay, I'll taxi round. Welcome to the West Europe server. How odd. I went for throttle up on the runway and nothing happened. Now it does appear to be working. I wonder if it was the sync failed or something. So we're just going to toodle down to the end. Turn round, go take off again, and then we'll fly up to Stansted. So Matthew Barber has arrived. Hi mate. Hello back. Yeah, we just had a weird... I've been doing touch and goes, just had this really weird thing. I touched the runway, went for full throttle to do another go around, and the engines didn't spin up. Very odd. No warnings, just no power. So I did a full stop and then taxied back. We'll have another go now. BAe 146 is very good. I've had it for ages, but since the day it came out, so I've done a video with the startup sequence. It's actually really interesting to... I really like steam gauge aeroplanes. I prefer them over glass cockpit planes. Okay, flaps are in takeoff configuration. And we're rolling. Wicked crosswind going on. Gear up. Okay, so if you remember, we talked about going out over towards Stansted, so we're going to do exactly that. So So autopilot on. And keep climbing out at 1,000 feet a minute. Go to vertical speed mode. It's on heading hold mode. Let's calm the engines down a bit. The descent mode button, you mean over on the TMS system? This is the thrust modulation system, by the way. No, descent mode doesn't do what you think. It reduces the engine to the minimum level they can run at and still provide electric power for the things you have configured. So normally that would be 60% nominal. If you've got anti-ice and things like that on, where they require more generation of electricity from the engines, then it raises as high as I think 67% for idle. So yeah, so on the TMS system, or thrust modulation system, descent gives you the minimum engine speed to support the systems you have running. Normally you would run it in sync mode if you're in manual control of the engines, which just means that you stabilize the numbers across the engines. So yeah, what you're talking about is this thing here. So this is the engine modes. So sync mode basically means N1 and number 1, or sorry, it's listening to stick 1, and then the other engines are going to listen to engine number 1. Does that make sense? So then you've got takeoff mode, you've got maximum continuous thrust mode, you've got a target temperature mode, and then you've got a descent mode. So if I go for maximum continuous thrust, the plane will absolutely, it will just push the engines to their maximum safe limit. Oh, hang on, sorry, you're talking about something else. Yeah, steep approach. Yeah, I think it's just an inhibitor for the warnings. So if you're coming in very steeply, you get like descent speed warnings and things like that. So it's, I think steep approach over that little button there is just an inhibitor for that, so it shuts up basically. You're telling the aircraft, I mean to do this. As far as I'm aware. So let's go for altitude hold. 4,500 feet. So we're heading out north towards Stansted Airport, which is over here. So we will turn right when we get to BKY. So actually that's a bit of fun. Should we go 116.25 on the nav radio? 116.25. Whoops. By the time I've tuned it in, we'll already be over it. There we go. So you can see the nav has turned. So let's go and turn the Omni bearing selector to fly towards it. Is it going to let us? So let's put ourselves in glide slope lock. No, sorry, VOR lock mode. Sorry. So we're flying directly towards the course we've chosen on the VOR now. So we're flying into BKY, and then we'll fly out of BKY if we go and measure this. Measure distance from there. And so if we wanted to come out of, say, a 90 degree, I mean, we could just fly the heading on 90 degrees, to be honest. So while we're doing this, let's go and descend back down to 3,000 feet, so we'll arm that. We'll come off the engines, and we'll turn off altitude hold, trim the aeroplane down, go for about 1,000 feet a minute, and then vertical speed mode. So it will now hold 1,000 feet a minute until we get to 3,000 feet. It's like I say, I much prefer flying like this than using a flight management computer, and it's got one. So it's there, but you have to flick this little yellow switch to RNAV mode for it to use it. If you leave it on nav mode, you're using the VOR radios, and you've got 2 VOR radios, and you can flick between them. So you can kind of relay them or daisy chain them, if you want to call it that. It's really good fun. Okay, so we'll go back to heading mode and choose 90 degrees in a moment. So let's go and get that ready ahead of time. So we're just moving this little heading marker to 90 degrees. So having done our circuits at London City, we're going to go and land at Stansted. So we're just coming up under 6 miles now to the VOR. And the altitude is coming down to 3,000 feet. If you remember, we had armed 3,000, so it will go switch over to altitude hold mode when we get there. You'll see that happen. You can see the nose coming up now as we speak. So we need to increase the throttle slightly. So obviously we're not descending anymore. So there we go, we're in altitude hold mode now. So we're going to make the turn in a moment to 90 degrees. So we've pre-armed the heading, so all we need to really do is switch to heading mode. So we'll just watch the counter come down on the VOR. When we get to about a mile from it, we'll switch to heading mode and the plane will bank right automatically to go for the heading bug. 1.4 miles. 1.2 miles, get ready, and heading bug, and plane goes right. Okay, now we need to go and change the VOR, or sort of nav radio to the VOR, so 110.5 and 223 degrees. So you can see it's on the second frequency here, so we can just press the button 110.5, and we want the runway direction as our course, 223 degrees. So it's quicker to go left, 223. Okay, so this now represents the runway direction relative to us. You can see on the map we're flying out now 90 degrees. So when we actually we could tune VOR2 onto this, couldn't we? 11625. All I'm thinking is we could use the DME from it. I don't really care about the course. We can see that DME for 2 is here and it's increasing, 4.5 miles, 4.6. So if we look at our line there, that was a 12-mile line. So when we get to about 10 miles, we'll know we're in the right sort of place to turn right. And if we slow down a bit. I'm just wondering about, I'm looking at that glide slope because obviously this is a normal 3-degree glide slope, so until we get quite a few miles out we're going to be above the glide slope. Okay, let's have a look outside. It's a bit more calm outside of London, isn't it? Why have we got the runway lights on? Runway exit lights are off. These lights are off. Interesting. Well, we're going to land anyway, so let's go and turn these back on. Okay, so 11 miles. Let's start that turn, shall we? Or should we go a little bit further? You can see the beam is coming in, so we'll fly through it and we'll turn left instead. It will give us more of a run-in, give us more time to do things. So we'll extend this for another couple of miles and then we'll turn left right onto the glide slope. So we'll wait till we get to about 15 miles. And then we'll spin our heading all the way around. And then when we're in the ballpark of the glide slope, we will go for glide slope lock, or sorry, VOR lock and then glide slope lock. Okay, let's go for it. You have to be careful now not to move the heading more than 180 degrees past the nose direction, otherwise the plane will start turning the opposite direction. Turn it all the way now. Let's get rid of some of this speed. So here comes the glide slope. We'll be slightly offset, but that's fine. So we'll turn our heading a little way beyond where it needs to be. And we're going to turn on VOR lock when we're heading towards it. So instead of using heading mode, we will be using VOR lock mode. There we go. And we can turn on glide slope lock now as well. And the plane is basically going to fly itself down. All we need to do is manage speed. Get down. Just reading the live chat now, I don't have to look at the screen anymore. Can you keep on split and not change to nav1 course? So the split button, what it does, or the split knob, nav1 will reflect on this radio, and nav2, sorry, where is it? Nav2 will reflect on this radio if it's in split mode, so you can see both. Yeah. If you But just to muddy that slightly, this instrument here shows both anyway. Okay? If you... Oh, I've just stalled. It's just...
2500.
Just deal with this a moment. This is what you get for talking on a channel. Okay, let's go for... We're above the glide slope, so we won't be able to capture it. I'll have to save this for us. Let's go and tune or trim the elevators back. This just goes to prove, look, no auto throttle.
2500.
So I'm just getting them back underneath the glide slope, otherwise we won't be able to capture it. I am the world's worst at multitasking. So we're just coming back underneath the glide slope. And we're under. There we go. Okay, so what was I saying? Just keep an eye on the airspeed for me, somebody. If you move split to the left, it means both instruments are going to show nav 1. If you move split to the right, it means both instruments are going to show nav 2. But like I said, both of these secondary instruments show both. This hasn't picked up the glide slope properly, has it? It's going into the ground. And that's interesting. That shouldn't have happened. It didn't pick up the glide slope. It was merrily just descending into the floor. Okay, don't worry about that. Whoa, that juddered really badly then, didn't it? It's probably loading aircraft in on the ground at Stansted.
500.
Hey, fly in manually. If all else fails, fly in manually. And there's somebody coming out. Of course, an AI plane is going to taxi out. Just like all the vans that make suicide runs at us. An AI aircraft. So I'm going to extend the landing beyond him a little bit. Just to avoid him.
Fifty, 40, 30, 20, 10.
And we'll roll long to avoid him as well. Okay. That was bizarre that the glide slope didn't lock up. I think it's just these old aircraft take a while, so rushing it like we did didn't have time to stabilise. It always makes me laugh that the AI aircraft and vans and stuff, they obviously spawn when you're nearby and they make a beeline for wherever you are. But we've probably got another airliner head on with us. Are we on the taxiway? Oh, no, don't worry about interrupting. It's fine. We still got down in one piece. yeah, the nice thing. Oh, one thing I didn't say about the split is the autopilot will take notice of which one you have switched it to. So if you put it in the middle, the autopilot will favour nav 1. Yeah. Whereas if you say nav 1, it will obviously use nav 1. So if you want to flick between different frequencies when you're on autopilot, you can use split to do that. But the reason you can put it in the middle is so then you can see different frequencies on each instrument on the panel. But then you can see it as well on the standby one next to it. So I guess the thing is, this has a course deviation indicator, whereas the standby instrument only gives you a bearing, so the VOR station. Okay, so let's go and park up after our fun and games in London. Where should we go and park? Whoa, super jerky, what's going on? Probably find out it's spawned a phoenix or something. Or phoenix, sorry, I keep calling it phoenix. It's probably find out it's spawned a phoenix somewhere nearby. And it's absolutely cratering. Oh, there's a Boeing over there that is spawned. But that's usually quite light on frame rate. What's this? It's not the phoenix, is it? No, it's got a pointy nose. What is it? No, it's just a stock aircraft. Maybe that's... Is that one of them? That's... Who's that? I'm not sure. Okay, that parked horrendously. Parked about as bad as our local supermarket car park. Wheel brakes on. Can we, if I get the tablet back out, can we go to aircraft and get the chocks and the ground power and the passenger stairs? Oh, do we have to do the stairs first and then open the door? Or maybe we have to turn the engines off before we load the stairs. Thinking about it. So I've forgotten how this works now. Oh, here we go. That's the pumps. Electric. So we should be able to then go...
Cabin crew, doors to manual and cross-check.
Can we have the stairs now? No, we turn the engines off. Yes, we can. I think I was just a bit impatient before, to be honest. It's Phoenix though. Pocket Edition says it is spelt Phoenix. Yes, I know it is, but it's pronounced Phoenix. I listened to one of their podcasts to make sure. Okay, I've got to go. So I'll see you soon. That was good fun.